I'll be responding to these messages right here.
Good evening, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, and of course, those of you listening and viewing in the diaspora. I'm Aruna, and it's indeed a pleasure once again to welcome you to this week's edition of DMs with PM. It's your weekly program and, of course, your opportunity to connect directly with the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. And as always, we invite your calls, we invite your DMs, and you have the opportunity to ask directly. No scripts, no filters, we are live. Just how you see it is how you're going to get it. To our viewers on YouTube and Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in once again. And of course, we invite you to share the live. To our listeners on Power FM, Fusion FM, Vibes FM Carriacou, Hot 98, Star FM, and of course, remember the rebroadcast on Sundays on Top FM at 6 p.m. and 7 to 8 p.m. on WeFM immediately after this live broadcast. A lot has been happening, and of course, we have our Prime Minister in studio with us once again to catch up on all the happenings. Prime Minister, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Special evening to all of our citizens in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, and in the diaspora as well.
Wonderful. Well, last week we kind of started off asking him about one of his, favorite things to do, and we got to understand that crocheting was one. Now, we made a deal, and he sort of reneged on the deal today, but we have a clip that we probably would share at some point in time of him actually doing crochet. We have somebody with a bracelet in studio. That is definitely something you'll carry with you. But you did promise us a live, so hopefully one of these days we're gonna get an what do you call them things? Doily?
Yes, the doily.
We get a doily or something of the sort. But we have it on screen. There we go. All right. So we have a chain, and then it was converted into a bracelet. And he's quick with the fingers as well. So that means he definitely know what it was about.
Yes, I didn't make it up. And those are my hands. They're not artificially.
It's not AI.
It's not AI generated hands.
So hopefully one of these days we're gonna get something more. But like I said, there's so much happening, and Prime Minister, we are on 1 year since Hurricane Beryl devastated the Cis-Style of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Where are we now?
Well, first I want to take the opportunity to say special regards to our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and PT Martinique in particular, but more broadly to all of the citizens of Grenada, including the north of the island, St. Patrick and St. Andrew, St. Mark, that were significantly impacted by the passage of Hurricane Beryl. For many of those who experience this, it is not just the physical destruction, but I think many folks pointed out the significant emotional and mental anguish they went through as a result of the hurricane. And many are still recovering from that experience and would not wish it to happen to them or to anyone else again. And so it's important for us to take time out and pause and reflect and acknowledge and commemorate the event, and pay special regards to our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and PT Martinique in particular. As you recall, 2 persons lost their lives as a result of the hurricane, one in Carriacou and one in River Road. And so again, our thoughts and prayers go out to their families, as they obviously would be remembering the loss around this time. So we still have a lot of work to do, particularly when it comes to housing for those persons who've been impacted as a result of the hurricane. And so it's important for us to appreciate that we are in the hurricane season, and we should take all of the necessary precautions during the period to make sure that we can safeguard our lives and our livelihood. So again, I just want to take the time out to recognize our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and PT Martinique, in St. Patrick in particular, and to let them know that our thoughts and prayers are still with them, and particularly those who may not have recovered fully as yet. And it's important also to appreciate that when you go through an experience like this, it will in fact take some time to recover, and it's not a short-term recovery. You may have medium to long-term challenges that we need to cope with. For example, in Carriacou, the Dover Government School was completely destroyed. The school obviously has not yet been built back, and so the parents, teachers, the students are still living with the impact of the storm, and this is something we have to bear in mind. In terms of where we are, obviously we have done significant work in the immediate aftermath of the storm. We continue to do significant work in terms of our recovery efforts and in terms of building resilience and making sure that we can continue to educate the public about the dangers of climate change, and in particular hurricanes, storms, flash floods, and other climatic events. We are still in the midst of grappling with the sargassum challenge that we face, so that's also another natural challenge that we have to address. So I would say that we have made significant strides in terms of our recovery efforts. We have to continue to do so, and the government will certainly do everything within its ability to continue supporting those who've been impacted by the hurricane, and to ensure that we continue building resilience by education, by behavioral changes, by financial resilience in terms of things like ensuring we have parametric insurance, ensuring that we could widen the scope of the parametric insurance to include agriculture, fishing, areas such as water and electricity, and some of the significant economic areas like tourism, which does not yet have parametric insurance, are some of the areas that we also have to continue addressing. But again, we also working to improve the ability of NADMA to respond to and to be able to be proactive in terms of ensuring we can mitigate the risk arising from natural disasters. So this is going to be an ongoing effort. It is something that we have to accept, that we have to live with permanently. We don't really control the climate, and a lot of what is happening is beyond our control, at least as a small island. So we have to make sure that we adjust our own behavior to suit that. But I want to conclude by again recognizing our brothers and sisters in Carriacou, praising them for their resilience, praising them for their patience, and saying thank you to all of the Grenadians who volunteered in the immediate aftermath of the storm to help out in Carriacou, to help out in Petit Martinique, to help out in St. Patrick, particularly with the cleanup and so on. Our brothers and sisters in the region also came to our aid, and so it's important for us on this anniversary to say a big thank you to them as well.
And we, of course, in the hurricane season until November 30th, so we still have to, a lot of things we need to do to prepare.
No, absolutely. We can't take this for granted. It is something we have to constantly bear in mind. Each home needs to have a hurricane disaster plan. Each institution, each business, the government itself, or security forces, health, education, it is something we have to accept is a normal part of our life. So we have to be prepared at any moment to be able to respond according to the type of threat you have. It might be heavy rains, it might be flash floods, it might be landslides, it might be a hurricane, it might be storm surges, it might be the sargassum, it might be droughts. So we have to be prepared. Disasters happen all the time. Some are man-made, some are natural. And it is important that we build that sense of resilience, that sense of responsibility, but also the sense of continuity. Because if we plan properly and we execute, then we are more likely to survive and ultimately recover much faster.
And we definitely have to build back better in terms of homes, and and just throwing something up, but building with that in mind as well, that we live in a hurricane belt.
Yes.
There are also reports of an explosion in Telescope, since we're talking about disaster and all of that. Any word regarding that?
Yes, so the reports have come in of a pretty loud explosion in the Telescope in the quarry area. The police are currently investigating the matter. They have established a perimeter. So far, preliminary reports indicate that a building on the site itself has suffered extensive damage. It is likely that some private homes and buildings as far as Grenville might have suffered damage to things like the windows and so on. So obviously the information is very, very preliminary at this stage. So the police is on the scene. They've established a perimeter. The investigations will continue, and as we have further updates, we'll be able to brief the public. But at this stage, we do not have any reports of any injury to persons or any death. But given how loud the explosion was, it is possible that persons may suffer negative hearing impacts as a result of this. So this is something that obviously will have to be monitored and checked. But it is very early, and we obviously can't say what is the cause of the explosion or the loud noise. But as the updates come in from the police, we will provide it. NADMA has also been notified and is also responding.
Okay. So folks, of course, more information will definitely be forthcoming. PM, you also recently went on your trip to the Afro-Caribbean Conference in Abuja, Nigeria. Tell us about it. I know it's something you're really passionate about as well, making that connection.
Yes, so thank you. On Thursday and Friday, I journeyed to Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria, to attend the annual general meeting of the Afrexim Bank, which is the Africa Export-Import Bank. As you are aware, we are actually hosting on the 28th and 29th of July in Grenada at the Radisson Conference Center a fairly large African Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which is sponsored by the Afrexim Bank. And so it was very important for me to go to the annual general meeting so that Grenada could partake. The Attorney General as well also attended the meeting on behalf of Grenada. And the focus really is on trade, investment, economic empowerment of Africa, both in terms of government and in terms of the private sector, and how we link that with the Caribbean, which is part of Africa's diaspora, as well as North America, which is also part of Africa's diaspora. So the aim is really, first, to showcase Grenada there, second, to showcase the investment opportunities for Grenada, and third, obviously, as we're hosting a significant trade and investment forum in Grenada itself, sponsored by the bank, to make sure that we could encourage delegates and participants to attend the meeting in Grenada.
And who is it targeting exactly?
The meeting is a number of persons. We are targeting government leaders, we are targeting business persons, we are targeting entrepreneurs, we are targeting academic persons, thought leaders, we are targeting celebrities, we are targeting our agro-processors, our business persons, both in Grenada, within the OECS and in the wider CARICOM space. The whole idea is, how do we create the ecosystem that encourages trade, investment. One of the major challenges we have between the Caribbean and Africa is literally no air links whatsoever. So how do we begin to develop that? How do we begin to, for example, if the statistics are accurate, it says as much as 25 million Nigerians travel every year for tourism. How many of them are coming to Grenada? They either going to Dubai, or they're going to North America, or they're going to London, and they spend significant sums of money. So how do we get the African tourists to visit Grenada? How do we demonstrate that Grenada has the capacity to host large conferences, so that when we're out of the winter season, we're able to extend the tourism season? So far, we have confirmations of over 680 delegates who are likely to attend. We believe the numbers will go as much as 1,000 delegates. Okay. That's 1,000 hotel rooms. That's transportation, that's food, that's logistics, that's business, that's economic development. That's an opportunity for Grenadian entrepreneurs to pitch their ideas to potential investors, to look to see where they can get grant money, technical assistance, etc. So it's really about reorienting the economic ties, the trading ties, the tourism ties, the transportation ties between Africa and its diaspora. Okay. I flew directly to Abuja. It was 8 hours and 56 minutes. That's the same time it takes to get to London. Now, if you had to, the traditional way of getting to Abuja would be flying to London then from London to Abuja. That will take me 48 hours just to do that. So it demonstrates that it can be done. It's a question of, how do we link our business men and women together, or investors, or bankers, or traders, to put us in a position where we can really leverage the significant. Africa has 1.5 billion people. So when we are looking for markets for our product, and it doesn't have to be the traditional products, the music, the arts, the culture, the fintech, there's a huge market there with enormous potential, and that is what we have to look at. There's also a significant opportunity for African investors to invest in Grenada and in the wider Caribbean. So that is really the focus of the forum.
Okay. And I'm sure as we get closer, there'll be more information forthcoming, so folks will know how they can participate and how they can be part of it, right?
Yes, so there's a link. Persons who are interested in showcasing their goods and so on, they can go on the link and ask to be registered. But we want to encourage our business community in particular to make use of this opportunity. We will have a lot of people in town, or restaurants, or persons who provide ancillary tourist services, excursion, cruises, etc. We want to make sure, what we don't want is people showing up and there's no food at the restaurants, or we're running out of drinks, or we're running out of water, or we're running out of opportunities to sell souvenirs or gifts about Grenada, or we don't have activities that people can go on, show excursions, take them hiking, etc. The event is the Monday and Tuesday. We are hoping that persons can stay much longer and extend into the festive carnival season. So it's also an opportunity for us to showcase our carnival, or steel pan, or arts, or craft, etc. So that's really the plan. And I have a big announcement to make. We've just secured Patrick Siakam, who played for the Indiana Pacers in the NBA finals that just concluded. He will be in Grenada from the 28th of July. We are hoping he will not just attend the active conference, but also spend a little time vacationing. And so we are going to use this opportunity to make sure he can interact with our young men and women, or basketball players, or sports players, to talk about his journey. He's from Cameroon. Again, so you have someone, if you look at his story, he started playing basketball at 17, and within 4 or 5 years, he was a star in the NBA. He's won a title with the Toronto Raptors. He almost won a title with the Indiana Pacers. So we are going to have very high-profile persons attending the event. Mr. Dangote Aliko has confirmed to me that he will be attending as well. So we really looking to make sure that we can showcase Grenada as a place where black talent, as a place where our young boys and girls can aspire to see successful persons who are like them, who look just like them, who speak like them, whether it's in sports, business, culture, entertainment, politics, you name it.
Fantastic. Viewers and listeners, that was quite a lot to consume, a lot of information. And of course, our Prime Minister is definitely on top of the ball. So we'll continue to disseminate information to you. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we go directly in the DMs.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
Welcome to the Cinnamon Model, one of the many stunning designs in Project 500. The home offers 944 square feet of living space, not including the veranda. It includes 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a dedicated laundry storage area, all centered around an open kitchen, living, and dining space for everyday comfort. In the current view, it work at 70% completion, having rough plumbing already in place, electrical, interior walls, and ceiling finishes to be installed soon.
Welcome back again to all our viewers and listeners on radio and, of course, online, YouTube and Facebook. Again, just asking that you share the different platforms, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, so other folks will have the opportunity to be part of this program. Like I said, when we come back, it's time to go in the DMs, and I believe we have our very first question for today from Scott Albert. Scott is asking, concerning the lighting of the cricket stadium, where are we on that?
Thank you, Scott. We are currently in a process to start shortly. We did not want to commence the lighting because we would not have been able to finish it before the cricket match involving the West Indies team and Australia team, which will start on Thursday. So once this game is completed, we will begin with first lighting the Progress Park playing field, and thereafter we will move to the National Stadium. Most of the equipment that is required to erect the lights are already on the island. So we anticipate, all things being equal, that we should commence work. If we don't commence in the latter part of July, we certainly will commence in August after the carnival activities, because as you should be aware, the cricket stadium in particular has been, in a sense, a lot of the promoters and the Spice must have been awaiting the repair of the cricket stadium so that large cultural events could take place there. So once we get past, if we don't start before Carnival, we certainly will commence once the Carnival season is over.
Okay. And we have another question from Mikey. As a fisherman in the parish of St. Patrick, we are really in need of some spotlights on the jetty since there is ongoing stealing of both engines in the area. And is there any plan to refurbish the jetty on the breakwater?
All right, so thank you for that. I will certainly take a note of the need for the spotlights and have the Fisheries Division look into it. We are planning to do work on the breakwater in general. So I think in terms of what he's asking, it may likely have to be covered by part of the work on the breakwater. The team at the Ministry of Infrastructure is working to get us to the point where we can have a contract issued to a contractor to commence the breakwater work, because as you are aware, there's been significant damage and significant erosion by the seawater coming in. So we believe all of that would be dealt with under the contract.
Okay. Boss Lady says, I would like to know when national athletes would be paid or receive some sort of stipend, especially when representing out of state.
All right, so thank you. We are in the process of continuing to develop this policy. As you're aware, we certainly have a policy that currently pays national athletes who represent in major international events such as the Olympics and the World Games. We are not yet quite at the point where we have the budget to pay national athletes who take part in every single event at a national level. And we also have to be able to distinguish between amateur representation and professional representation. So these are some of the issues that we will be working through. So for example, our swimmers in our secondary schools who take part in the Carifta Games. Carifta is an amateur event, so persons are not paid to take part in it. So in those circumstances, what obviously would happen is that the government would assist with the expenses associated with the performance, but it's not a professional event, and so there's no paid fees for it. So we have to be able to distinguish between amateur sports where persons partake, but there is no payment, but the state underwrites the cost. And in most instances, when Grenadian athletes are traveling overseas on behalf of the state, some contribution is given by the Ministry of Youth and Sports or invariably through the National Lotteries Authority, so the underwriting of the cost. But we have to distinguish between professional sports and amateur sports. So certainly, for most professional sports, you have a situation where persons are competing in privately owned leagues or competitions, such as, for example, the cricket or basketball or football. But generally, in a situation where it's amateur sports, there'd be no paid compensation.
Okay. C. Jefferson Miles, what is the status of the official opening of the Molyneux Road? What is the position with the planned walkovers for the south of the island?
Right. Well, I don't know that we need an official opening of the Molyneux Road. The Molyneux Road is open. What is left to be done is actually to put a final overlay of asphalt on the road. An initial overlay was put, but the quality of the asphalt was not appropriate, and so that has to be taken up and relayed. The challenge we have with asphalt, I've said this I think several times on the show now, is getting the right quality and type of aggregates to create the hot mix. And we are not quite in a position to do this at this time, because the only quarry we have is at Mount Hartman, and we've just had an explosion at the telescope quarry, and that's the next site that we're looking at to be able to get the appropriate aggregate so that we can create the hot mix. In the meantime, it is likely we may have to import some aggregates to get us to the point where we can have the hot mix required to complete the final asphalt overlay on the Molyneux Bridge. But as it stands, the Molyneux Bridge is open and usable. The only regret we have is that there's significant congestion already because so many cars are parked on the entrance to the bridge. In terms of the flyovers, we have to delay the erection of the flyovers because or walkovers, I should say, sorry, which are essentially walkover bridges for pedestrians to avoid the traffic. There are 3 sites that we had in mind, one around the Calise area, one around the CK supermarket area, and then one on the bridge on the Morris Bishop Highway along the Ramdanis area. But we have to do work on the roads themselves, and before we could do the work, NWASA has to relay significant pipes for the expansion of the Southern Water Project. The sod turning ceremony for the NWASA project is scheduled, I think, for tomorrow, and so we then expect the work to commence in terms of the pipe work. We expect that as soon as we're able to complete that, we will then begin actual work on the roads, and in so doing, we look to address the issue of erecting the pedestrian bridges at the same time. So unfortunately, with construction, sometimes you have to do the foundation first before you could do the superstructures, and in this case we absolutely have to lay the pipes first because we can't fix the roads, put the bridges up, and then dig the roads up to relay the pipes again.
Okay. Glendon Joseph says, I'll ask what plans are currently in place or being considered to better document, preserve and promote the rich history and cultural heritage of Grenada, especially for the benefit of future generations.
Well, I don't know that this is solely a government initiative. I mean, to a large extent, history is written by historians and academics. And so I would start by saying we certainly have seen in recent times a lot of our historians writing books on the history of Grenada. We can look at the last author, Dr. Nicole Philip Dow, who authored a book on the history of Grenada, and that book has been used in schools currently to teach the history of Grenada. So we certainly take the opportunity to commend Grenadians, and I think a lot more Grenadians are writing and researching about the history of Grenada. The museum is an institution that obviously needs significant improvement and significant resources. The Minister of Culture and his team are working on beginning to address some of this. So this is one of the things that we need to do. We also believe certainly that the Ministry of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority also has a role to play. But we also believe significantly, and this is one of the challenges that we face, that our Ministry of Education also has a significant role to play in that. But we also think NGOs and individuals as well have an opportunity, because the history of Grenada is not just its political history. It's ultimately the history of its people, its great sportsmen, its great cultural icons. And we need people who are prepared to document both from an autobiographical point of view or biographical point of view about the accomplishments of Grenadians, because ultimately that is what the country is about, the triumphs, the challenges, the failures of its citizens. So I can't say from where I sit that we have as a government a comprehensive plan just yet to address this, but we certainly believe that there are tributaries already running in the right direction that will help us to be able to do so.
Okay. Anonymous is asking, I listened a few weeks ago when you mentioned expanding Grenada's citizenship by descent CDB framework to allow further generations access. This is a space I've worked for years internationally, building and managing CDB programs for countries. I would love to assist in the effort, whether through policy development, diaspora outreach, or implementation strategies. Please let me know how can I be of service. Anonymous.
All right, Anonymous, if you are prepared to share your contact details with us, I would certainly ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs and his team to get in contact with you. Or alternatively, you can contact the Permanent Secretary in the Home Affairs Ministry, which is the Prime Minister's Ministry, P.S. Carleen McWilkin, and you can share your CV and resume and your expertise with us, and you can let us know whether you're volunteering. I hope you are, to assist us in crafting the right policy, which ultimately will have to lead to legislation to make this happen. So thank you for the offer.
And Unknown is asking, in light of your recent announcement recognizing August 1st as a bank holiday to commemorate Emancipation Day, will there be and will you participate in any of the Jab Jab celebrations taking place around the island on that day?
No, I will not be taking part in any Jab Jab activities on that day. I'm not so sure that Jab Jab activities should be taking place on that day, and I think I've already said that Jab has a time and place. It's generally for Carnival season. The 1st of August is Emancipation holiday. This is not an insignificant event, and we have obviously taken very deliberate legislative steps to make sure that we acknowledge the 1st of August as the date when legally it was no longer permissible for one human being to own another human being as private personal property, especially when historically it was done by white Caucasians enslaving black persons or persons of African descent in Grenada and the British West Indies. So this is not a day to be trifled with or to be taken lightly or to be joked about. This is a day of significant importance to us as a country, significant importance to us as human beings, and from our perspective is the foundation upon which a free Grenada was ultimately built. So we should never take for granted the notion or the idea that some human being is less than another human being and therefore entitled to be treated or viewed as property, not in fact or in law. And so the activities we intend to support under the activities that will educate our population about the significance of this holiday, remind persons of their human dignity, and remind us that ultimately we are a free nation. And that freedom stems from that abolition of the right of persons to own other persons as slaves. So I don't want this day to descend into simply a day of entertainment only. It is a day for solemn reflection, it is a day for education, it's a day for us to think about how we preserve our freedom for the next 1,000+ years to come. If we don't think about those things, we run the risk of behaving in a manner that makes us vulnerable to other persons thinking that they can own us as human beings or own us as a property. And so I've given a very long response because I want the caller and the nation to know that this is a very significant day that should be marked and observed with the respect and the dignity it deserves.
Okay. Someone has been asking this question for quite a while, so let me shout out the Commentators Association, they say that's how to refer to them, on the lives. Someone has been asking for quite some time about updates on the upgrade of the Grenville bus terminal, especially as we are in the rainy season, and when will the library in Grenville be built?
Okay, so the library in the Grenville is part of the Grenville commercial project. We are working on this. We've had some challenges with the project. When we got into office, the project was meant to be a public-private partnership between the Grenada Cooperative Bank and the government of Grenada, which jointly formed a joint venture company called the Grenville Commercial Project, which was meant to finance and develop the rebuilding of the site. Unfortunately, when we got into office, the bank and the then administration were not seen eye to eye as to how to proceed. And that has taken us some time to be able to resolve the matter. We are in a position now where we are proceeding with the project. We have a board of directors in place. We have retained architects to confirm the plans, and architects and an engineering firm to confirm the plans. We are working with the bank to obtain the financing for the construction so that the property could be built. We intend to, all things being equal, be in a position where construction commences by January of next year, and we intend to then move expeditiously with the project. In terms of the Grenville bus terminus, the intent was to ensure that the Grenada Transport Commission can take control of all of the bus terminuses throughout Grenada. So that includes Grenville, that includes the St. Patrick, and that includes the one in St. George. We do recognize that there are some challenges with the covering, and that when it rains in particular, people do get wet. Up to yesterday, the Permanent Secretary and I in the Ministry of Transportation shared with me some of the plans that the Transport Commission has. And once the engineering is done, once the architectural plans are approved, we will expect that the next stage will be to move to a contract so that we can have the matter addressed. So rest assured, we are working on these, but as I said, with construction and with the significant amount of construction taking place in the island, we also have certain constraints in terms of availability of contractors, how quickly people can move, but it is something we will address.
Thank you. Folks, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to take some DMs from the street.
It's like the water pure and clean. It's a comfort anytime you need it. It's for everybody, fresh and green. You can count on us, there's nothing like it. It's homegrown. It's island pure. It's homegrown.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation. Enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
And we're back with your DMs with PM, and this time we're going to take a look at our DMs from the street with Norris.
I'm Brittany.
And Brittany will be asking the Prime Minister the next DM.
Okay, yes. So my question is, why the roads in Grenada are so bad? And why they wait until when it gets worse to fix it? For example, I'm living in Crochet St. John's. That is, I don't know if you all know where this area is. So we have a road situation where they're trying to fix a road. The road, it was breaking already, and right now it gets real bad that vehicles cannot even pass there. We have to walk down And if you see the area where we have to walk to go and to get right, come quite down in Guav, and then we still have to get bus from Guav to come down to St. George's. So that is the issue.
Okay.
All right, so Brittany, thank you for your question. We do have some constraints when it comes to how quickly we can respond to the road repairs, and it is something we are working on. So I hope in 6 months' time, Brittany, I can say to you that we have begun to address this in a systematic manner. The first challenge we have, as I indicated, is we do have a challenge with aggregates and hot mix. That is the asphalt that is actually used to repair roads. That's one. The second challenge is that we do not have a lot of contractors on the island who can do major roadworks. That's one of the challenges that is to some extent beyond the government's control. We are working to expand the ability of local contractors to actually engage in major roadworks, and we have also invited regional contractors to come in. The third challenge we do have is that the government itself, that is the Ministry of Infrastructure, when we got into office, actually did not have any tools or equipment or any labor force itself to directly respond to road repairs. And then the fourth point I have to explain is that sometimes when you have to repair the road, you actually do have to repair the entire road. And so that means if you just simply continue patching it, then a month from now you'll have to be patching again. So in some instances, to actually do road repair, you actually do have to rebuild the road from its entirety. And when that happens, it means, yes, there's inconvenience. Sometimes traffic is not permitted until the roadworks are completed. So that's part of the inconvenience you sometimes have to go through when there is roadwork. But I don't just want to identify the challenges. I want to talk about what it is we are doing to solve it. So the first thing that we are doing, as I've said, is that we've invited regional construction firms to come into Grenada, and we are engaging them as we speak. And we expect that we would be in a position to begin some significant road construction in the latter part of this year. And when we say significant, we mean significant because I agree with you. Almost all of the major roads in Grenada need attention. Some of our secondary roads are also in significant bad shape, and we are seeking to build the drains, we are seeking to build the culverts, we are seeking to build the retaining walls, and then we will rebuild the roads as well. We also need to address the hot mix situation. So again, we've invited some regional companies to come in. They've brought in the hot mix plant. They're in the process of setting that up, and we expect that we will be in a position to have this addressed as well. One of the challenges we face is that although contracts are given sometimes to build roads, there's no contracts to maintain the roads. So part of what we're looking at is a comprehensive approach where we're asking, because road construction is very expensive, and because we have a lot more vehicles on the road now, we are asking our contractors to see whether they can in fact finance, design, build, and maintain the roads. This is critical, and we're hoping that that would put us in a position where once we start doing so, we could have consistently higher quality roads for the next 20 years or so to come. So, as I said, I'd be happy to do a fact check in 12 months' time. Brittany, I hope you're still around to show that there's been improvement to the road in Concord and to other roads in Grenada.
We have another DMs from the street.
So, hi, my name is Norris. What's your name?
I'm Stacy Sincere.
So Stacy Sincere will ask the Prime Minister next year.
Okay, so I am a member of the private school education system, and I would like to know what's on board for private schools.
All right. Well, thank you for the question. I'm not sure I'm in a position to answer because the government is responsible for the public schools. If it's a private school, it's essentially a business that is providing education services. Outside of the fact that the Education Act does apply to private schools in terms of some regulations, I'm not so sure when you say what is in store, whether you're talking from a teacher training development, when you're talking from improvement to wages and salaries, those would essentially be private matters between the private schools, the employer, and the teachers who work in the schools.
And I think that's about all the DMs from the street for today. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we take your phone calls. And just to let you know, 423-3104, that's the number to call to ask the Prime Minister your question. Back in a bit.
Welcome to the Cinnamon Model, one of the many stunning designs in Project 500. The home offers 944 square feet of living space, not including the veranda. It includes 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a dedicated laundry storage area. all centered around an open kitchen, living, and dining space for everyday comfort. In the current view, it work at 70% completion, having rough plumbing already in place, electrical, interior walls, and ceiling finishes to be installed soon.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation. Enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
And it's just about time to take your phone calls. Again, the number 423-3104. I believe we have our very first caller online. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. And good evening to my dear Prime Minister.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. A lot of things I agree with you about, but one thing I disagree with your government about is the taking out of the Beryl Relief Fund, the money. Some people, they take off some of our monies from the Beryl Relief Fund. I don't know if you know about it, and I would like you to give us a feedback and tell us why that happened. Well, because we was getting XYZ every month, and then like they will say we're getting $100 every month. They take out $35 from it. 35 cents from it.
Okay, so
$35 from it. That bothered me a whole lot, and that's going to have a lot of consequences because we are poor people and we need that money back. I need that money to go back into the hands of the people. Thank you, sir. So,
I was hoping you'd stay on the call because I actually have no idea of what you're speaking about.
Yeah, I could stay on the call because I mean.
Right. So could you? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. So you need to explain.
No, we had the Beryl Relief Fund. We was getting some monies every month from the Beryl Relief Fund.
Who is we?
And we the Beryl Relief people who lost some of our properties and some of our assets during the burial time. So they was giving us some monies, and then after they was giving us, let me say, $1,000 per month, and they take out $350 from it. So I was asking why they did that.
But who are you getting this money from? Which ministry?
Well, I don't know which ministry, but I from Grenville, so we were getting it in the Grenville in the revenue office every month. All
right. Well, I would have to speak to the. To be honest, I'm not even sure specifically what you're speaking about. So I will have to speak with either the Ministry of Housing, Social and Community Development or the Ministry of Finance and get back to you. And when did this 350 come out or 250 come out?
Well, 3 months ago, because we was getting, let me say, $1,000 every month, and then 3 months after, they were giving us for 6 months. You complete this, right? So we were getting $1,000 every month. Well, they take out 350 in it, half of the month. So we get 1,000 for 3 months, and then after we start to get 750.
Right, and were you getting this money?
I'm 700. Pardon me, sir?
Right, and were you getting this money as a result of losing what? Your farm, your business? What was
the basis? Damage to my business, sir.
What kind of business?
Well, property, parts thing and, tree fall on the windscreen and whatever, and stuff like that.
Right,
but parts,
right, but I mean, but they did not communicate how long the program was going to be for.
Yeah, the program for 6 months, but I was saying they was giving us $1,000. They tell us they was giving us $1,000 every month, and we just started to give us.
Right.
And then they after they give us for 3 months $1,000. After they take out $250, so we are getting $700 a month now. And I was wondering why they did that, All
right. So the program ended when, in December?
Well, it ends this month, sir.
It ends this month. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I would have to. All right. Well, thank you for notifying.
And God bless you in your endeavors, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I thank you.
All right.
Okay. So I guess you have some homework to do.
Yes.
Do we have another caller online? Okay, so again, 423-3104, your opportunity to call and ask your questions directly. Caller, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon, Aruna,
Hi.
and good afternoon to you, Mr. PM.
Good afternoon.
Mr. PM, I just called this evening to ask you how you're coping. So much at demands. I know it's very, very hard. So I just want to give you a little encouragement to hold on. Hold on. Your shoulder looking small, but it seems to be you have a big heart. Mr. PM, we have some people receiving a 3-bedroom house with bathroom, toilet, and everything. And some of the people don't even have to pay a cent. And when I hear now people demanding now to build wall house, sometimes we just have to find out where this money coming out for all this work to be done. So be strong, my brother. I love you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, a little encouragement goes a long way. We have another caller online. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone, including the Prime Minister. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Right. Mr. Prime Minister, there are some allegations are going around.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to clear the air with some of the corruption we are hearing in offices with some of your. First of all, with the Beryl Relief Fund, we're hearing that people are getting contracts, monies are put in their accounts, and people they are taking all the money in their account and spend it and not finishing the work. Is that true, sir? Then, second of all, we are hearing the allegation with former Senator Lacquette with the NLA corruption deal. I want you to explain some of that for us. If that is true with the NLA manager and his girlfriend. So we are asking if these things are true with the NLA deal. Thank you so much. Mr. Prime Minister. Have a very pleasant evening.
Thank you so much, caller.
Well, thank you, caller. I think my response on the National Lotteries Authority is no. And I think if anyone has evidence or proof to the contrary, then obviously this is something that they could have brought forth a long time ago. I want to make the point. The National Lotteries Authority, like many other statutory bodies, but perhaps lottery more than anything else, is outside of the central treasury, perhaps the next treasury of the state of Grenada, where everybody, from private promoters to Carnival Queen contestants, to sporting clubs, to community clubs, to people who are sick, are constantly asking for assistance in one way, shape, or the other. But the lottery business is a lottery business, and so the lottery itself also has to manage its reserves. And sometimes, when people are told no, or are told that the lottery is unable to fund what they're requesting, they make all kinds of allegations against the board and the management and the staff of lottery, none of which is frankly fair nor considerate. We also have to appreciate that almost all statutory bodies in Grenada, the people who serve on these boards, the directors, are doing so virtually free. The stipend that is given to them, the $300 or the $500 per meeting or per month, in many instances is inconsequential and cannot compensate them for the significant time and effort that they put into serving on behalf of the citizens of the country. So when people malign their names and say all kinds of things, that's one of the reasons why oftentimes talented people choose not to get involved in public service, because you have all kinds of foolish people who make all kinds of allegations with no proof. And if they had the proof, then present the proof. So I think that is what I would say. And then on the second issue with Hurricane Beryl, I am sure that with any government program, from time to time, you may have mistakes or you may have issues that may need addressing. But as far as I'm aware, there is no widespread corruption. There is no systematic corruption in any of these instances. There are challenges, and I've said this repeatedly, with many other contractors, because in many instances, their ability to manage the money, the ability to have the kind of financial literacy that is required is sometimes not there. Now, you could say you're not dealing with them, in which cases the homes are not going to be rebuilt because we simply don't have the capacity. And I've given these examples when we were having the financial literacy classes. If you give a contractor a fixed price contract, say $75,000 to build or $85,000 to build a Build Back Better house. And he doesn't realize that he cannot pay his workers per day. Because if he pays them per day, and if they're unproductive, or if rain falls and they don't work and they still have to be paid, he will quickly find himself running out of money and unable to build the home, because he ought to have said, if my price is fixed, I then have to give a fixed labor price. I can't pay you per day. You then have to tell me, what is the job as a carpenter? It is $10 for the entire project. What is the job of the electrician? It is $2. What is the job of the plumber? It is $3, and say that is the job. Because if you don't and you pay them per day, and they tell you $1 per day, and they spend 3 months on the site, and you pay them that way, then you quickly run out of money and the house is not built. And in many instances, this is what has happened to a lot of the small contractors that we've tried to work with. Because everybody in Grenada always talks about, you don't like to support a small man, you don't like to do this, you don't like to do that. The government has gone out of its way to try and support a lot of our smaller contractors. The minister and his team at MIT have even sought to work with Ariza to give some of them the ability so that there could be some financing from Ariza to allow them to even start some of these projects and so on. Because the government process sometimes could be a lot slower, because you have to go through procurement, you have to go through contract stages, and it could become challenging. And all of this was coming in the context of everybody who was impacted by Hurricane Beryl wanting the government to be able to respond quickly and nimbly and efficiently to address the challenges. So I'm sure there are instances where contractors may not have fulfilled their obligations, where the supervision should have been better, but I'm satisfied as the Prime Minister of the country that to a large measure, both the Ministry of Housing, both MIT have done their best to make sure that they can satisfy the needs of the persons who are impacted by Hurricane Beryl. And I will say this finally, all right? There are all kinds of people who themselves do nothing more than be social media badge on, spread all kinds of allegations, all kinds of nonsense about people. They don't go out in the sun and help anybody. They don't go out in the rain and help anybody, and they don't lift a finger to help anybody in need or anybody in distress. So at the end of the day, we came in on a basis of serving the people. We will continue to do so, and that is the focus of the government, that is the focus of me, and that is the focus of our ministers.
Okay. Do we have another caller online? Caller, good evening. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. And thanks for having me.
Right ahead.
Yes. So I'm calling. I'm a proud resident of the Carenage and its environs. And one of the things I wanted to raise is that the Carenage, being one of the most traversed and picturesque places in Grenada, I find for too long it has been somewhat neglected. I think the Carenage presents so much opportunity as what I would say could be an entertainment hub that could host so many different things. And when you walk around the Carenage right now, it's becoming dangerous it's becoming to a point that it's dangerous even walking around the Carenage, because there's so many broken areas. And I want to be the first to say, I know this is not, I don't expect this to happen overnight, because I know this has been something that has been neglected for many years. But I'm asking this question and also making a suggestion that whatever the plans is, if it's in the pipeline for the Carenage, that at least some kind of community outreach can be had, so at least the community can be a part of the shaping of the future of the Carenage, so that we too can benefit from it, and it becomes a place that is not just known for the ghetto or the Carenage boys or writers, but it's known for something that, we could be proud of. Thanks.
Thank you, caller.
Well, thank you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think you've already seen that from the government's perspective. We've already taken steps to begin, at least where we can, the enhancement of the Carenage. But it requires significant and major infrastructure work. It also requires, most of the properties on the Carenage are privately owned, and it also will require private owners to want to actually take pride in the maintenance and the look of the Carenage. But I agree with you, the Carenage has enormous potential. As an administration, we have never shied away from having events on the Carenage, and you'd appreciate, for example, that we actually launched our 50th anniversary on the Carenage, and we've had other significant events on the Carenage. We've now relocated the Central Police Station on the Carenage, and I don't think the Carenage is known or synonymous for the Carenage boys or the ghetto. That's just in my view, minor feature of the Carenage. But it does require significant infrastructure development. It does require significant management of the traffic, and we have to do it in a way that is sustainable for a long, long time to come. We have begun a lot of consultations. There are a lot of Grenadian architects, businessmen, engineers who've approached the government with ideas and plans. We certainly think a deeper community engagement has to occur, and the government also has to take responsibility for those buildings that it owns, from the library to the drill yard, even though the drill yard is not on Carenage, but the entire complex compound. All of that is part of the ambience of the area. It will, as I said, however, require a significant plan, likely to be phased, and it will require significant consultation with the residents and other stakeholders, the businessmen and women who have businesses there. As you're aware, for example, we have the unfortunate situation where a large number of tuna boats and other boats are now at the Carenage. They're literally breaking the sidewalk and it's falling into the sea. I don't need to talk about the environmental catastrophe that is taking place there. And we have to start with just some of those simple things. The Port Authority has been trying to address the issue. I've indicated to them that the time has come for us to, in fact, be decisive. The boats are going to have to be relocated. There's no question about that. We are going to have to start doing things like repairing the sidewalks in the meantime. But in terms of the larger and longer term plan, a major capital project will have to take place in terms of reinvigorating life and the buildings and the infrastructure on the Carenage. But the involvement of the residents, the involvement of the stakeholders will also be critical and important in that regard as well.
Yes, and I think that is something we are eagerly awaiting. I remember hearing, having someone call in, visiting Grenada, and saying that was one of the biggest shockers, to be on the Carenage and seeing, someone's business flying in the breeze while, walking along the Carenage. Yes. On the garments, etc. It was not a pretty sight. So I hope it's something that we can address as soon as we can. We have another caller. Okay. So while we await the caller, we are quickly coming to the end of the program. There is a question on the YouTube. Someone is asking, in terms of what specific timeline can we expect for the public service reform to be implemented during your time in office?
All right. Well, I'm not sure we ever said we were going to engage in public sector reform. I think what we talked about was the need to address a lot of the irregularities within the terms and conditions of employment of public officers. And we've been doing so. So this is ongoing. I think last show a teacher called about the temporary teachers who need to be sorted out. This is something that's actively ongoing. When I last got a briefing on this, I was told the Public Service Commission had confirmed about approximately 84. The Cabinet has approved 223 or 224. So we expect the paperwork that is required to facilitate this to occur and to take place. And we will continue in that vein. We've done a lot to address a lot of the challenges facing the public service. We've enacted the pension legislation that led to pension reform. That is ongoing. If the caller is talking about how do we improve the quality of service, the service delivery, etc., those are things that the Department of Public Administration is working on, and will continue to work through the human resource officers and so on to make sure that we have better trained public officers, motivated public officers. And part of a lot of what we've sought to do is to address motivation, because we recognize if people are not treated fairly, if they're not being paid well, if their pay and grade issues are not being addressed, then obviously they're not motivated to work. You will get poor quality service, you'll get high levels of absenteeism or sickness. And so our approach was to ensure that we took a positive approach, we addressed those issues, some of the conditions in which people are working, we can improve the working environment, the physical buildings, etc., so that we can then call upon them and say, well, we are beginning to address the issues that we know are important to you. We would like you to address the issues that we know are important to the public, which is the quality of service, the efficiency of the service. So that is an ongoing state of affairs, and we expect we will continue pushing on that.
Final call. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
This is Kimon Kotor here. I hear you talk about a basketballer coming here. I know if Kimon was around and I was on my feet, I know you would have been calling me first under this condition. And I know you know who's speaking.
Yes, German. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I wanted to call out the name bad because I supposed to get in contact with you 3 Christmas ago, but I ain't getting contact, but that is a different conversation.
All right.
What I want to tell you.
Yes.
That situation on the Carenage, and when you hear it from me, you hear it from the best. Myself and Mr. Jeffrey Thompson, President Canada, we touch all grounds. Port Authority responsible for that mess. I call it a mess on the Carenage. When all the boats had clear out from the Carenage, when they move all the crates and all the big steamers, all the Faithful Star, Sea Fortress and Miriam, B and them on the Carenage, that is where they used to send up all the crates to go to Trinidad on a Tuesday. That come and remove. They come with one boat, say they want to do a little docking on the Carenage. Port Authority give them permission. One boat bring 2, he bring 3, he bring 4, and a short note he bring 100. That's it. What you see now, that is what caused that. Added to that, the last time, I'm not the caller that call you, that the Carenage get a facelift because it had some, I will tell you what it happened because I was a part of that swimming. Easter Water Parade from Sir Eric Matthew Geary. You can imagine how long I'm talking about there? I'm talking about 75, 76, 77, 78 come up the road. From Sir Eric Matthew Geary, when Geary drove all the sand, your father could have tell you that because I know your father. He could have tell you that Geary had a beach on the Carenage, turned the Carenage into a beach for Easter Water Parade. And anybody listening, they will tell you that it's true. Let me be short with that one. The another one, it has 15 parliamentarians. And you know what I want you to do? As much as I please that you totally responsible for that. You're my friend, but if you can't tell your friend when he's wrong, you won't be able to tell him when he's right. Or you're displeased. You might have a reason, but I might be displeased, but that can change me from the NDC. Giving these MP and them, especially who people on the opposition side for what their vicious attack here, should not have been permitted. That is in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
Effort is already made. But what I want to do, the 5 MP on the opposition side, I hope the color of the VK giving them is yellow, so that they will not use it. They will bring it back up at the ministry where your headquarters is. And anyhow, you need to give me a call. Thank you. That is my first time I get to talk to you. That is my first delivery. That one is just off break.
Sure, there's
I'll
more.
come with the Beamer and the Bouncer next talk show.
Okay. All right, noted.
Thank you so much,
then. Thank you very much for the comments.
Alrighty, well, we are about to wrap things up for today, but before we go, Mr. Prime Minister, we have cricket action, newly refurbished cricket stadium, and we're getting, some action at the stadium. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so we have the test match between the West Indies cricket team, or Cricket West Indies as it's the shortened and more modern version of saying it, and Cricket Australia, starting on Thursday at the Grenada National Cricket Stadium. It's a 5-day test match. We're hoping that the match goes for the entire 5-day period. We want to encourage persons to come out and support Cricket West Indies, support our boys. We know, we don't have the great days of Viv and others, but I think it's important for us to appreciate that cricket is actually one of the, if not the fastest growing sport internationally. We need to invest in our cricketers. We need to invest in our young ones who like cricket, and this is a fantastic opportunity for them to come out and see international players, particularly the Australians, who we know have been perennial competitors and quite good internationally. It's a good opportunity as well to see the significant improvement to the Grenada Cricket Stadium. All of the seats have been changed. A lot of the mechanical, plumbing, electricals have been improved. The roof has been significantly strengthened. The 2 screens have been repaired and are now significantly improved. So we certainly want to encourage all of Grenada to come out and support our cricketers.
Fantastic. Viewers and listeners, this is where we come to the end of yet another DMs with PM every Tuesday right here. And of course, just want to say special thank you to Power FM, Fusion FM, Vibes FM, Caracou, Hot 98, Star FM, We FM, and of course you can tune in for the live rebroadcast, Top FM on Sundays at 6 p.m. To those of you on YouTube and Facebook, as always, an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you again next Tuesday, same time, same place. So, have a great evening, everyone.